Zoom is the Warrenton Board of Alderman meeting for Tuesday, April 7th, 2020. First time running this, guys, so be patient with us. We're going to try and do this as smoothly as we can, but we would rather have it this way than not have a meeting at all. And I know some cities aren't having meetings, so I'd like to be able to present something, and I think the rest of the aldermen would agree. Yes, no?
Yes.
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 So with that, open the meeting. And the first item would be the consent agenda.
We have the executive session minutes from March 3rd, 2020. We have the regular meeting minutes from March 17th, 2020. We have award the CIP pipe rehabilitation bid to SAK Construction in the amount of $33,306.25. They were the only bid. The budget amount for this is $150,000, which is coming out of the I&I repairs budget. And then we also have award the Warrenton West Interceptor Phase 1 bid to Pace Construction in the amount of $1,789,351 with no alternates. They were the low bid. The budget amount is $2,600,000.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
So I got Schultz as the first one. Melody, who'd you catch as a second?
I believe it was Miller.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Miller. Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Apologize about that. I didn't know he was going to cut his grass. Motion passes 6-0. I think we will skip the public comments.
No, sir, I did receive one via email this
We did.
morning.
Excellent.
It was from a person named Sean Ball, and it says, if the Board of Aldermen should vote, pass, enact any temporary laws that would see that those who are out during the state's issued stay-at-home order will be known and made fully aware to the residents that the city is only seeking a cash grab on the already financing struggling residents of Warrenton. To even consider infringing upon the residents by imposing temporary laws which could set forth fines or jail is unconstitutional and unmoral. Find another way to finance your failed overpass, outlet mall revival, and unneeded, unnecessary water park. Sincerely, your boss, taxpayer.
Okay, so I'll answer just part of that real quickly. It is actually state statute that it's a misdemeanor offense, that if anybody is caught either by whatever orders are given by the governor or by the city or by the county, it is stated, I can't cite the exact statute for you, but it is a misdemeanor offense, and it is a ticketable offense that will be covered in the state courts. So it's not unconstitutional because it's set forth by the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Missouri. Is there anything else I need to answer on that?
He can look, if I'm not mistaken, the Constitution is Amendment number 10 of the Bill of Rights. If I remember reading through that. If he wants to look that up, I think it gives the state, the federal government, or the state can declare an emergency and do that. So you're right, it's not unconstitutional.
You know, and I don't think anybody's looking to go. What we're asking is everybody to just do what's right. You know, what's being advised, what's being talked about is safety precautions. That's all we're asking. We're not looking to go door to door and find somebody violating something. But we do care about the safety of other individuals and the progress of the COVID-19 virus, in my opinion.
Where do we stand on that as far as enforcement? I don't know, Terry or whoever can answer that.
What we have instructed the officers to do is if they see an obvious violation of the social distancing requirements, that they are to go and break it up, let them know that they're in violation of the order. And if there is resistance or if there is a failure to comply, then they will make a report. They will take that report to the state prosecutor's office, and the state prosecutor will take it from there.
Okay. That seems reasonable.
Any other questions or comments on that? We'll move on to the Board of Alderman comments. Any?
Well, I'll start.
Okay.
As everybody knows, on March 17th, we began asking citizens to socially distance and follow the CDC guidelines. Many of them took that seriously. And I especially want to thank all of our healthcare workers, the EMS people and police officers, but also all of our local restaurants and the people who are employed by the stores that are remaining open, the restaurant employees. I'm getting reports of people being really unkind to some of these workers in Walmart, Schnucks, some of these other stores. I think we're better than that. I think we need to step back and realize that these people are working under extremely difficult circumstances, and we need to be giving them a pat on the back instead of complaining about them. The other thing, while people are off right now with not quite as much to do, would be a great time to complete your census. I know that information has gone out. A lot of people think it's just a bunch of baloney. The census can help our community, our state. Please, please complete the census forms. And the other thing, we were hit with a pretty bad hailstorm on the north side of town. And I would just like to remind some of the seniors that are out there that whenever there are issues like that, weather-related issues, some of the people that come out of the woodwork to make repairs to your home and things may not be reputable. So please find out before you give anyone money to do any work on your roof or somewhere around your home that they are licensed and certified to do the kind of things that they're asking to do. So with that, I'll turn it over to the next person.
I don't know if we have anybody else. Anything else? Scott, I think you're muted. Alderman Schultz.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. All right. With that, we are in kind of a unknown time. Was on Livewire for a little bit today with the commissioners and some of the other mayors, and I'll just say the same thing I resounded there. Guys, be patient with us, please, as a city. This is new to everybody in the nation, not just us as a city. We're trying to learn, and we're trying to do things as we can. We just ask so little patience because things are evolving every day. CDC is putting out things. If you're not paying attention to the CDC, it's putting out something daily, if not hourly, sometimes by the minutes. We're trying to consume as much information as we can and apply it to different things that we are doing throughout our city to try and protect the citizens. So. Next thing would be the approval of the liquor license for Barley and Vine LLC for Fall Festival 2020. Do we have any?
Yes. I have a question on this for Brandy or Terry, whoever can take it. Do we limit the number of liquor licenses for the Fall Fest?
Usually we try to keep it at around 5 or 6 at the most. Rarely do we get that many.
Okay, well, are we, I don't know how best to say this, but before approving liquor licenses for out-of-town businesses, I would think we would want to give our local people the first opportunity at it, especially in this time and the conditions they're working under and not working under. They're going to need, to try to recoup every dime they can since they're being shut down for a month or 2 months, whatever it's going to end up being. So I'm wondering if we're jumping the gun a little bit on giving out-of-town businesses a liquor license before we are allowing our own restaurants and bars to get in there. Because I would hate to say, okay, all of a sudden we've got, if we're going to allow 6 liquor licenses, we have 3 of them from out of town, and then all of a sudden we've got 4 or 5 of our locals that want liquor licenses. So
Sure. And I'll say we have never turned away a liquor license yet for the Fall Festival because we never have enough. And we've already sent out all of our invitations to the local people as well. So they've already gotten the save the date. They've already gotten the applications. We just haven't gotten anything back yet.
okay.
But I would never turn away a local person if they came and we ended up being over. I'd rather have too many than not enough. But we've never reached a maximum number.
Okay, well that answers my question, and that's
Okay.
sounds good. I figured you were on top of it, Randy, but I wasn't sure what the limit was that we allowed. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions in regards to this? I'll entertain a motion to approve the caterer liquor license for Barley and Vine LLC for the Fall Fest 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Was that you, Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. So motion was made by Alderman Dyer, seconded by Alderman Ock. Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Next will be the extension of current liquor licenses.
Yes, on March 26th, the State Division of Alcohol and Tobacco extended the state liquor licenses for a 2-month period to avoid people having to move around to get their liquor licenses renewed. Our liquor licenses expire at the end of June. And so we're asking for the formal approval to also extend our existing liquor licenses to the end of August to coincide with what the state is doing.
Any questions on that from anybody?
I think it's a good move, considering it would probably be hard to get a lot of them get their stuff lined up now, especially being closed down and everything. So
Terry, you're saying end of August?
Yes, August 31st.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the extension of current liquor licenses to August 31st.
So moved.
so move.
Okay, who said the so move? Was that Deloy?
Yes.
And who was the second one?
Me.
Who's me? I can't
Mike.
see.
Mike.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Getting used to it. Motion made by Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Sharvey. Roll call vote.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Next is the great topic of stay-at-home order. Anybody want to start off, or you want me to start off? I don't mind. So I had asked this originally to be on the agenda because we didn't know if the governor was going to put something in play, and I think we're at that point. I think it's crucial. We had a discussion last time, but a lot has changed since then, and I think we're just at a crucial point. And I think it was important, but the governor did put in place a stay-at-home order statewide, which I appreciate. And I had actually spoken with Commissioner Gildehouse and our presiding Commissioner Gildehouse, and I told him I wanted to put it on the agenda so I could report back to him. But there again, it's kind of null and void. But I still would like to talk about the different things we have done as a city. I mean, okay. We've closed the courts, the tennis courts and the basketball courts, and some of that was due to there were some people congregating in certain areas and not abiding 10-person rule, and I think it's detrimental, especially among young individuals that may not. Let's just face it, folks. Some of us were always young and impervious to anything, or at least we thought we were, and. So I get the mentality, but it's still not a safe practice. And it was just for the benefit of our citizens. I thought that was one of the things we needed to do.
I think Terry's response to my question before, that how we handle those situations, sounds like a good mix of common sense and yet being aware of how important it is to not congregate. But I think the way they're handling it, it would appear to me to be the right approach.
Keyword there's common sense. People just need to use some.
Well, I've said this to Terry and Brandy before, but I really appreciate the job that they have done. I believe our city was one of the more proactive when this began. We started having things in place that a lot of other cities, even larger cities, did not. That speaks well for all of the city staff who have worked tirelessly to make this work. And I'm glad that the governor finally got around to issuing the stay. We were one of the last states to get involved with this. There are still a few out there that have not issued stay-at-home orders. But as we move farther along into this, it's going to be imperative that people try to do what they're being asked to do, which is stay at home, stay inside. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can be outside and do things, but my goodness, the fact that the grocery stores are crowded with children who don't need to be in there, different things like that. I think, as Bobby said, we need to start using a little more common sense and try to get along and follow these restrictions as best we can. But thanks to all the city staff who are working so hard to make this work.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We will pass that along. All of the department heads and other staff as well, but department heads in particular are taking all of the phone calls that would have been coming into their department. They are then disseminating those calls as need be to take care of whatever situations have come from those. We have staff going in daily during business hours to make sure that there is a live person answering the phone to make sure that those phone calls from residents are getting to the right place to be dealt with. But we are adhering to the social distancing requirements. So it is minimal staff in the building at a time. They are instructed if there is more than one person there that they are to maintain their distancing. We're continuing to disinfect and clean. They've been provided with personal protective equipment. So even though we are continuing to be able to provide services to residents as needed, we are still continuing to adhere to those requirements that are out there and to protect our staff. So we appreciate everything that all of them have done through this.
And our parks are still being cared for. A lot of city businesses still going on, taking care of the needs of our citizens. So thank you again.
I think one, go ahead.
Terry, I have one quick question. Is the police department covered as far as PPE equipment, and are they covered? They don't have a problem with anything there. Do we shortage of it or anything?
No, we in fact had started purchasing what we thought would be necessary supplies quite a bit of time before it all became critical and you couldn't get what you needed. So we had those things on hand, and since that time, we also have received a small shipment from the state, from SEMA, of equipment to our police department. And we have received some amazing donations, not necessarily for PPE, but for things like disinfecting wipes and Lysol spray and gloves. A great deal of that from the school, which our PD shared with the county and with other police departments in the area. And just today, we received a donation from Walmart that was a great deal of disinfecting wipes and other necessary items that they were also sharing. So the community has been very generous with what they had available to share with us. But as far as protective equipment, we started really early on and then have received this small shipment. And my understanding is there's another shipment that will be forthcoming. So we are in as good as expect to be right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we talked about how we've roped off the playground equipment at the parks, but the parks are still open. I mean, I went by Binkley the other day and there was 15 cars with people walking, go to the pool park. Today, there was people out walking their dogs and doing other activities, all very appropriate. So it's just not being in the house, but it's also getting outside and exercising and breathing some fresh air. And so that activity is going on in the park. So it's not like the gates are closed to the pool park that you can't get in at all. These are open, and you can certainly take advantage of the walking trails and different things that the city provides.
I agree. That was one thing we discussed, was keeping the parks open for outdoor activities, to be able to walk. Speaking to other mayors, it's one thing we have an advantage of is we have some walking trails and they don't. So it's kind of nice to be able to leave that open, as long as people there again do as Alderman Deloy had mentioned before, which is use common sense. Don't bunch up. Don't congregate. Don't make it the next thing we have to look at as to why we put them open.
I think the other thing I've noticed, particular in our neighborhood, is there's a lot more people walking in the neighborhood than there ever has been. You see mothers out with their kids. You see people just walking. So it's really, I think, the healthy side of this is people are getting out and doing some exercises that you can see in the neighborhood. So that's increased quite a bit in my area.
I can tell you, Gary, one thing I've had is I've had a formal night for dinner. I've had a decades night for dinner. I think tonight is frat night for dinner. My daughters love making me feel foolish when I come to the dinner table dressed as something. So it's been a lot of fun here. And honestly, as I say that all in jest, it's a lot of fun to be able to spend time with them and not it be homework, it'd be work, it'd be something else, but to actually get back to sitting back down at a dinner table and having fun, laughing with each other, and just seeing what people came up with as their outfits. And it's been a good time. Anybody else? All right. So we don't need approval on that, do we, Terry? Because we're
No.
already calling the governors.
Nope.
All right. Well, we will hear from the city administrator, Terry Thorne.
My first item for you this evening is just a discussion of the financial impact of this whole COVID-19 situation. There's a lot of discussion out there among cities about what the overall impact, particularly related to loss of revenue from sales tax, is anticipated to be. Most of the thoughts are that it will probably be somewhere between 25 and 35% loss of revenue. I'm not sure which of those, if either, are going to be the closest to what the actual number ends up being. I do feel that we are in a better position than some cities because of the type of sales tax that we are generating in town. If you look at our biggest sales tax generators, it's going to be the Walmart store, it's going to be Schnuck. Now it's going to be the Rural King, which obviously is still busy. The biggest loss probably will be from, my guess would be maybe the furniture store would be a big sales tax generator that would see less business. But it may be that we don't see as significant a loss as some other cities whose retail sales are generated by clothing and shoes and those types of shopping that people are not doing now. So my hope is we will be on the low end. But if in fact we are at that 35% projection, that's a loss of about $980,000 for the fiscal year. So I started looking at, if that's the reality, then how are we going to be able to overcome that in our budget? So my request to you this evening is that we put a freeze on capital projects for anything that has not been started and is not funded by a special revenue source. Such as the project you have on this evening that you approved in the consent agenda for the Warrenton West Interceptor is funded by bond proceeds. So we could not use that for any other project, regardless of what happens with our sales tax revenue. So there's no reason to hold that project. We have the funds sitting out there specifically for that purpose. But the other items in the general fund that are there would total about $550,000, specifically those items that are not yet underway. The things that we're in the middle of or in the process of finishing up, I don't see any way that we can now stop those projects. But those things that are not yet started, by the time this thing is over, we're going to be getting fairly near to the end of this fiscal year anyway. So we would roll those projects over and then include them in the following year's budget. Hopefully by the time we start the new budget, things will be back to some semblance of normal and we can proceed with those projects as planned. So my request for you this evening is to put a freeze on capital projects that have not yet been started into the process of working on them. Looking at that 550,000, then I also looked at, from an operations perspective, where would we be able to come up with the remainder of that $980,000 if in fact our amount would be 35%. So there are a couple of positions that we had in our budget that we will simply not hire those positions until we come out the other side of this and see where we are. There also is a fairly large amount that the police department was under their operating budget in salaries and benefits, simply because we've not been able to fill all those officer positions. So without really major effort and affecting day-to-day operations, if we need to come up with that $1 million, we have the ability to do that between operations items that are not going to create a significant impact daily, and the money that would be held from the capital projects not being started.
Yeah, I think if you look at the financial report for this time, or for the end of February, we're right on target for general fund revenues. But on the expense side, we're $450,000 under budget. So I think when Terry talks about that, that's what she's referring to, is that we do have money that we haven't spent, and the intent is not to go out and spend it if it's not going to be there. So we do have some cushion on the expense side that I think we can take advantage of at this point in time.
Terry, how many positions are not going to be filled because of this?
There are actually two. We had a recreation coordinator position that actually has been open all year. Brandy and I have talked several times about what that position would need to look like if we do hire it. And we simply have not gotten to the point where we were ready to actually put someone in that. The other was an inspector position in the building department that was scheduled to be added midway through the year. And we aren't in a position yet where we would absolutely have to have that position. So neither one of those are going to hurt us significantly in operations.
Okay, good.
I have a comment. When Terry and all of her staff put together these budgets, I can remember from ones in past where we always err on the side of conservative on the revenue for a purpose, and that is to make sure if something comes up, we have the cushion to take care of it and to absorb it, which is the case now. So I appreciate all the effort all of the accounting people do to come together and make the budgets work.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay.
All right.
Do we need to vote on the freeze, Terry?
I don't think we actually need a vote, just so that everyone in concurrence that that's a position that we need to take at this point in time.
All right. Is everybody in agreement?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. I will say this, next week was supposed to be the start of our week-long meetings to start the budget process for next year. And those are very intense, hours-long meetings where we go through all of the line items and the capital proposals for each department. So when we had our conference call this morning with all the department heads, we are in the planning stage and Dana's put a schedule for us. So we are going to accomplish those meetings by teleconference. So it shall be very interesting how that all comes together for this upcoming budget. But we really cannot put it off until this thing is over, or we will be too far behind in trying to get everything ready for June. So it'll be very interesting. My next item for you this evening is a request for approval for the letter of support for the Neighborhood Assistance Program. This is a program that Agape gets funding from every year. This same letter we typically have approved for the mayor to sign it in show of our support of that program. So my request is just for your approval for this letter of support for them, so that they can apply for the Neighborhood Assistance Program tax credits again this year.
Before we decide on that, I just kind of wanted to give you an update as to what's going on relative to the food pantry. A lot of food pantries have closed down. Agape has not closed down. Several people have been laid off. Several people have had their time cut to partial work. There'll be an article in the paper on Thursday. I believe the numbers were on Monday. It was either this week or last week. They serve food to over 90 families. 30 of those families had never received food before. So we can see how, you know, Cheryl talked earlier about the people who are working at the stores who are, you know, doing their best. And some of those people are laid off. Some of those people have issues too that you don't see. And we're really starting to see those numbers in the people who are showing up for food assistance in the residential area. So I think supporting a resolution to help Agape with the NAP program is probably the appropriate thing to do, because I think it's critical that we do everything we can at this time to support an operation that's providing food for those people who have never gone through this type of experience in their life.
I agree.
Any other questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion to send a letter of support for the SAFE program through the Neighborhood Assistance Program tax credits.
So moved.
Second.
I guess I should say for Agape, I'm sorry. So motion made by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Izzadelloy.
Yep.
Thank you. Roll call vote.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
That's all I have for you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Next we'll hear from Director of Operations, Brandy Walters.
Good evening. I only have a couple things for you tonight, just to update you. We have canceled the Easter egg hunt, unfortunately, and we have also canceled the city cleanup. The city cleanup we're going to try to reschedule in the fall, hopefully, and just make it a different time of year, providing everything goes smoothly from now until then. I also wanted to let you guys know that we had another recruit go through the process for our police department, and they graduated and started on Friday. So I'd like for you guys, unfortunately, he can't be on this meeting, but if you guys would welcome Kyle Schutte to our force. He started Friday as full-time police officer. And we also, two others that have also joined us since our last meeting is Chris Enlow and James Blackmeyer, both police officers. We have one more recruit that is in the academy still right now. He will graduate in June, and knock on wood, that'll bring us to a full force in the PD.
Excellent.
Good.
And that's all I have for you.
Welcome aboard, Mr. Schutte, Blackmeyer, and who was the other one?
Enlow.
Enlow.
Yeah. Welcome.
I'm sure they're going to rush out and watch this video.
I'm sure.
Be hopeful, be positive.
Send them a copy.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
That's all
Brandy.
that I have. Thank you.
Next we'll hear from Finance Officer Dana Belaska.
Good evening. You have before you a list of claims for your approval. $374,195.28 in total. Were there any questions on those claims list?
I like the digital copy better.
I have a question for you, Dana.
Certainly.
My question is, as you go down the list of numbers, well, let's say, for instance, there's one there, first one I see, it's Brad Booza Cruise, and it's got 45, is that $45? It's over on the
Oh.
fence side.
Those are their
Yeah.
cell phone reimbursements, aren't they?
You're absolutely right. And you're right. I could have formatted that a little nicer.
I noticed as you go down
Mhm.
there, when it's less than $1, I mean, it looks like less than $1, and I assumed it was $50 or 45, but
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah, you're correct.
I do have a question. It's probably a Terry question. I noticed there's a number of bills here related to the work on creating the municipal court in the new building. Could you give us an update as to what the progress of that is, where we're at?
Actually, Brandy could probably tell you better than I, because the last that I heard before everything went awry was they were blowing the insulation into the ceiling and the walls of the building. But Brandy, do you know if they've accomplished anything since then?
Not that I know of. I think that was just complete because they had to stop that for a minute because it started raining and it was too wet. So they have gone back and finished that. But I don't know that they've done anything else since then because they need multiple people in there at a time.
They were going really well with getting that done. But now with the inability to have multiple people working there in close proximity, it's really come to a halt.
Did we have a target date for when that facility was going to start being used? Realizing it's being delayed now, but was there a projected date?
Yes, our target date was the May court date.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $370,759.58.
So moved.
Second.
All right, who'd you get, Melody?
Mr. Mayor, excuse me, did you say 374?
No, $370,759.58.
But that doesn't include the utility refunds? Or am I
It needs-
looking at that?
It needs to be the 374, 195, 28.
374, 129, what?
195.28.
All right, so I'll make that adjustment. I'll entertain a motion to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $374,195.28. Melody?
So moved.
Okay, Melody, who'd you get?
I believe Alderman Ock was first, but I'm not for sure who was second. I'm sorry, there was like two people at the same time.
It was Cheryl or I, so whoever wants it, Cheryl or I.
Go ahead, Mike.
We'll go with Shell Harvey.
Okay.
The motion made by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Shell Harvey. Roll call vote.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Anything else, Dana?
Okay. Well, also you have those February financials in front of you. And, you guys have had some nice discussion already on where we stand as of the end of February. So general fund is right about at budget on revenues. And like you said, the operating expenses about 450 below budget. The water and sewer fund about 223,000 above budget, while operating expenditures about 311,000 below budget. So as you all discussed, it leaves us in a position where we can react to what's going on out there over the next couple months. So I think that it shows that we're going to be okay through this. Did you have any questions on those financials?
No.
No.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dana. I appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
Next, we'll hear from the Aquatics Director, Lisa Kramer.
Good evening. You have my report in front of you. As you can see, we were having a really good month at the beginning of March until everything came to a halt. So since the pool's been shut down, we've decided to take advantage of the situation, and we drained the indoor facility, cleaned it, and refilled it with water, and are making sure it will be ready to open when this passes. And this will allow us to skip the shutdown of the indoor pool this summer that we were discussing we were going to be doing in September. So we won't have to shut down again the indoor pool, as well as we've been getting the outdoor pool ready so that as soon as this passes, we'll be able to open the outdoor pool and start allowing our residents and patrons to come use that as well. Anybody have any questions?
I have a comment more than anything else. I took advantage of the indoor pool to exercise in the water for several days, and I just wanted to make a comment of how helpful and gracious the lifeguards were that you have working there. I was most impressed, especially with their ages, that they were very attentive and very much appeared to be on top of what they're supposed to be doing. And I appreciate Lisa for putting together a staff that realizes the importance of connecting with the residents when they come in. And the taxpayers built it, and they should be greeted when they come in, and they were very nice, very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you very much, Lisa. Next, we'll hear from Public Works Director Guy Jeevers.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. First item I have is my monthly report. Quite a bit on there, but if you got any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Anybody have any questions?
Next item I have then is the approval of the bid for the deep well at Warrior Tower. The approval of the bid for Hageman Incorporated for $715,939. The budget amount was $700,000. We are over $15,939. I would like to reallocate $25,000 from the chlorine well shelter. That shelter's for gas chlorine. And this year's budget coming up, we're wanting to change from gas to a liquid chlorine, so we don't have the gas that we have to deal with. The new well that's going in is going to be liquid chlorine. And for us to change from gas to liquid, we will need a DNR approval. So we're in a process for next budget to be working on that. Here's a little side note on how this went down. So Cochrane did not recommend Hageman's because of the subcontractor of Midwest Hydro Drilling. Cochran supplied us with references of Midwest Hydro Drilling. And so staff checked the references, and the references all came back as good. And none of them had anything bad to say. And some of them are cities. They still use them, or they would recommend them to use them. Also at the time, Hageman did not have, during the bid opening, did not have his current DNR license. Midwest Drilling did, but after that, they noticed that, then Hageman did receive their DNR license and does have it now. So when I'm asking far as the recommendation to accept the bids for Hageman Incorporated, and also that we will make sure with our city project manager that we'll oversee the project to make sure that Cochran treats the drilling company professionally, and make sure we don't have no issues with that.
Guy, I'm really glad that your staff went to the task of checking all these references. It's so nice to know that we're going to be able to use local people on this. And I went through the references of all the cities that they worked for. They also have a huge job coming up at the Lake of the Ozarks. And I'm just happy to see that you guys took the time to research this to figure out that this is really the best way for us to go. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's saving quite a bit of money because the other contractor was quite a bit. The other contractor was $790,000. They
Right.
put us over almost like $90,000. So we'll just make sure everything goes, because we don't work for Cochran. Cochran works for us.
Right.
That's right.
There you go.
So can I ask you about the alternatives 1 and 2? Because you're not recommending the alternatives, obviously, for budget reasons, but what's the impact of alternative 1 not being accepted? What does that do for us? Talks about 175 horsepower well pump. So what do we do if we don't do alternative 1? What does that mean for the project?
Let me look real quick.
Because their bid was $68,528 for the alternative 1.
That would have been a bigger pump, and with the design, it really wasn't necessary.
Okay, what about the backup generator for alternative 2? So what do we do if we need a backup generator and we don't do alternative 2?
So we will try to slip that in the budget, but you got to remember, we also have that portable generator.
Okay.
That we can put behind a dump truck and tow it to the location. So we'll make sure when we have it, when it's being built, that it's plumbed to run cords to it, and sort of portable generator can run that.
Okay, let me jump back to 1. That's an area of town that has significant growth in terms of residential going on right now. So going with the lesser pump, is that going to, what's the impact on as that area grows? Because there's quite a few vacant lots, there's quite a few projects going on. Is that going to hinder service if we don't do alternative 1?
No,
the customer?
No, it will not. Because you got to remember, all the wells, with the biggest dilemma with that is all the wells feed each other.
Okay.
So if that's just I don't want to say a cushion, but it gets more water to that tower, because so if we wanted to fill that tower up completely with the elevation that we have, if we fill it up completely, one of our other towers would overflow.
Okay.
Because of the elevation. So it wasn't a crucial cost for the bigger pump.
Do you foresee
then-
sometime in the future us having to do that?
Not at this time, no.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to award the Deep Well number 9 Warrior Tower bid to Hageman Incorporated in the amount of $715,939 with no.
So
low bid.
moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Shelby, second by Alderman Deloy. Roll call vote.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
And Mayor, the next two items, there's really no reason to discuss because these would be two that we would put on hold in order to meet those numbers that we talked about earlier. These projects have not been started.
Hey, it sounds like you get off a little easy tonight.
Any questions or anything?
Nope.
Thanks, guys.
think so.
Very thorough.
Thank you.
Very
I
thorough.
appreciate your support.
Thank you. Just glad we could keep it local.
Good job,
I
guys.
agree.
So I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Whoa,
Or Melody.
We have an executive session.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, motion was made by who?
Me.
Okay, Alderman Miller, seconded by
Yeah.
who?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Motion made by Alderman Miller, seconded by Alderman Schultz. Need a roll call vote, is that correct, Randy?
to go into executive session for real estate.
To go and
Now we do roll call vote.
whatever Melody just said.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. We are so adjourned and now move into executive session.